Hey there, and welcome to my plant room here at Jersey Homestead. I'm Melissa if you're new, and today we're going to be doing some last minute, like it's a little late, it's May already, but I have a bunch of peppers here. So here are my baby plants, and as you see, I've got some tomatoes and some peppers. This is purple basil, and that's another tomato, and these are eggplants, some chamomile, and then some more tomatoes and peppers. And these are some sunflowers that I just started. They're just barely coming up. But as it turns out, peppers really don't like being outside when it's less than 50 degrees out. And as I was hardening these guys off, I left them out overnight and I accidentally left them outside one night and it got down into the mid to low 40s. So I'm going to start some new peppers today. And I think that the ones that I start today will do a lot better. So let's get started. Okay, so now we're here at my seed starting mat. And I am going to be starting a couple new seed snails. So just to show you, here is one of my tomatoes. Its tag got faded away in the light. Oh, giant. This is the Martian giant tomato. So these are growing nicely. And so this is just bubble wrap. You can see the roots here. The roots form very nicely. It encourages like really, really long root growth, as you can see. You can even see the roots through the bag here, some I'm pretty sure. Hopefully you can see them. So I will, at the end of the video, I'm going to transplant these into pots. So I'll unroll it and then you'll be able to see how great the roots develop with the seed snails. Okay, so I have a roll or a sheet of bubble wrap here. I'm just going to take some of my starter soil mix, which is just some cocoa coir that I moistened up with a little bit of perlite and a little bit of worm castings mixed together. Okay, and now I'm going to keep applying this until I have like a pretty hefty layer. My dog's in here. Say hi. I don't know if you can see her. There she is. Hi, Noel. Hi, Noel. Okay, back to it. Okay. Oh, very nice. I'm doing a video. What are you doing? You can't step in the dirt, Lou. Get back. This is crazy. Okay, she's still here kind of threatening to walk in the dirt, but I think that she's over it. Let me straighten this back out a little. Okay, as we were. So we'll get a little bit more dirt on here. So now I'll even this out. I'll kind of just get a nice, I'll leave a little bit over here empty because it's gonna like mush over there and we want a little gap for the tape. So I want about, not even really half an inch thick here, maybe like between a 1/4 inch and a half an inch. I'm gonna try to make it flat. So I'm gonna push down the middle the most because that's where it piles up. And then I'm gonna just like brush off the sides. And then you just take the start of it here. And you just, with a decent amount of pressure, but not a ton, you want to keep the soil in there. You don't want to crush it, but you don't want it to get loose and fall out either. You just keep rolling. And as I was saying, it'll push down. And so then I'll still, right when I get to the edge, I'll brush that dirt off as well. And then I'll press it, leave it for a second, and grab my tape. And then I'll flip it up. And I tape down on the side that's going to be folding over first so that I can pull it tight and tape it over to secure it. And then this side's flatter, so I'll take a little bit more dirt and just pack it down on the bottom just to like make it nice and even for that root growth. And then on the top here, I flat that down a little and expose the plastic. And we have a nice seed roll. So you can see, there's my light. You can see there, we have the nice seed roll. And so I'm going to make a couple more of those. I'm going to make 5 of them. And then we're going to plant the peppers. So I'm pretty excited for peppers this year because the deer always eat my peppers pretty extensively. I've only ever gotten maybe 1 or 2 peppers off of a plant, and maybe only 1 plant successfully per season will I have like actually produce any peppers at all. So since I have the nice enclosure, I'm really excited to be able to get some real peppers. So I did feel a bit like a bozo for accidentally leaving those plants out overnight, and now they're going to be all stunted and not produce well. So I had to get some new ones started so I could get at least some with some good production. The great thing about the seed rolls is that you can fit a lot of plants into a really small space. So especially if you're starting them and then you're going to transplant them directly outside as opposed to into pots and then outside, it's a real space saver for inside. I'm just going to top this one off because some of the dirt fell out. Nice. So we're going to be starting mostly sweet peppers because I don't do very well with spicy stuff. But we also have cayenne peppers and jalapenos. So we have 1 mixed sweet peppers, and we have 2 different bell peppers, and then we have the jalapenos. I think I'm doing the jalapenos, but I definitely have the cayenne peppers. Also, I've heard that peppers grow best in pairs. So when we start these, I'm gonna start them with probably 3 or 4 seeds in each spot. But then when I thin them down, I'll thin them down to 2 plants per spot as opposed to 1. Because they like growing as buddies. Okay, I had to pause that. I had to check on me, so I had to get rid of that. Now I'm going to keep making my last few rolls. And I'm not sure if I have enough dirt for all of them, but I might just barely have enough. Well, the seed rolls, I think, were kind of a trend last year, but I just discovered it this year. And wow, am I really impressed with how it encourages root growth. And so I'm probably going to just keep starting my seeds with this method because it really, really encourages good, deep root growth. And especially, I don't know if it's my soil or just how I used to start my plants, but they did not have good root structure before. And now these babies that I've been growing all have really, really good root structure. And I'm quite excited about that. I'm really hopeful that the garden is going to really perform well this year. And I'm really glad that you're here on the journey with me. Okay, give that one extra tape because it just wanted to fall right apart. Easy remedy. Just pack it back in there. Oh yeah, this side's nice. Great. That'll be a tall roll. I'm gonna put the tomatoes on that one. I didn't realize that was so big. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 more pepper roll. That one's pretty big. These are all pretty big. That's okay. Okay. So, oh, it does look like I pretty much made just enough soil for this. So that's great. Oh, maybe I flip this over. Oh, see, it really all came out of that side. Maybe I can cut this one. I might not use that one. I really didn't mean for that plastic to be so big. These are just sheets of bubble wrap that I got. I got them from my job. I work with a lot of like stuff that gets shipped around, so it's pretty easy for me to get bubble wrap. But you can use feed bags if you have chickens or pets or dogs or anything like that, or you can use any kind of like thick. I don't think like a plastic shopping bag would be thick enough, but anything that's plastic and thicker than that would work. Yeah. And the way that these keep the soil compacted, it really, when you bottom water, which is what I do with these, it sucks it up really good. And so I haven't had any issues with these with like germination or anything. Okay, so now that we have these set up, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the form we use. I'm going to do these 4 peppers. So I have sweet red, yellow, hot pepper. Oh, it's cayenne, nice. And sweet red pepper. Here are my 4 packs of seeds. Red, yellow, they're bells, and then the sweet pepper mix and the cayenne mix. Okay, so what you do next is I'm gonna put the sweet peppers and the hot peppers in the smaller ones. You just go down the plastic and you put little, actually instead of divoting these, no, I'm gonna divot them. About every 1/2 inch to 1 inch, you put a little divot. I'm gonna pack a little bit more soil into this one now. Okay, and I put little divots about every 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And so you can already probably get an idea for how many peppers we're gonna be. That's way. This is like way too many already too. So this will be our sweet peppers. But that's good because I had a lot of peppers started and I'm pretty sure they're not going to produce well at all. So this is great. And I don't think pepper seeds wants to last as long as others. I'll start that many more. And I'll do just 2 in each since I did have good germination on these. I know I said I was going to do more, but I think that just 2 is going to be fine. Unless I accidentally drop a 3rd in like that one. And I'm just going to leave it there. I made way too many holes on this. So as you can see, I could easily start 30 pepper plants in this seed roll here, but I don't need that many. So I'm actually I'm gonna take the other end of my thing. I'm gonna scoop these out. And I'm gonna move them further in. Since I'm just starting a few here, this is gonna keep them so their roots stay really, really separated from each other. And that's really like one of the great benefits of this is that when you unroll them to transplant them, the roots stay pretty vertical and they really don't get as tangled up as they do, if you were to like start it on a flat or bunch together or anything like that. My soil is a little dried out. I should have wetted a little bit more. That's part of my problem here. So this one I'm not going to divot since I'm having that issue. And since these rolls actually are way bigger than what I need. Okay, so this is going to be one of the bell peppers. I'm going to do the yellow bell pepper in this one. And we eat a lot of bell peppers, so. Oh, that's all of them. I'm doing all of them. So I'm going to try to sprinkle 2 at a time. And then they're just going to sit there. And then I'm going to cover them up with more soil instead of divoting them. Because these seeds are small, as we know, and they don't need that much soil on top of them. I love bell peppers. I use them in a lot of dishes. We make sausage, peppers, and onions. Or I just like to eat them fresh. I'll eat them kind of like I'll take bites out of them like an apple. I'm a big fan of that. Bell peppers have a fair amount of vitamin C, so they're a very healthy snack. They're great with like a ranch dip or just by themselves. And they do look very pretty in the garden, and watching them ripen is very fun. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get these to go all the way through the growing process this year. So when I put the soil on top, I'm just like being pretty mindful to not move the seeds around, and then I'm just pressing it, give them a nice covering. Make sure they're all nice and firmed in. Okay, now I'm just have to do the cayenne peppers. Hold these few red peppers back up. Okay, so now we have the cayenne peppers, and these ones we'll mostly pickle these, ferment them, I guess, so that we can make hot sauce. But since it's cayenne pepper, I'm hoping to dry some of them and make some cayenne powder as well that I can cook with. I haven't had a ton of success with dehydrating yet, but I got a nice dehydrator, and I'm going to give it another shot this year. I only tried to do a couple herbs last year, and they wouldn't, it said to dehydrate them on a pretty low temperature, and I just couldn't, they wouldn't dry out. I had them in there for so long. They never dried out. So I don't know if it's my dehydrator, doesn't work, or if I just had it at too low of a temperature and what I read was crazy. So I'm going to try something that uses like a slightly higher temperature this year. And then I'll be able to see if my dehydrator works. Okay. Okay, so I have you back here, and I'm just going to unroll these tomatoes so you can see how great the root structure looks. So you can see these tomatoes are grown enough that they have their baby leaves, and then their first set of true leaves, and they're starting their second set. That's pretty much where they all are. And so normally, if I was just starting these in little starter pots, they wouldn't have very many roots. But look at this. Oh, I gotta make sure they stay untangled. So, got a little janked at the end there, but that's okay. I'm gonna bring you in. So there they are. Now I'm gonna pull this one. Got a little janked, so. You can see the roots go all the way down to there. I broke that one off, but that's attached. So the roots, very healthy, quite strong. Highly recommend if you're looking for better root development to use the seed snail. Okay, I'm gonna get these transplanted. Okay, so now I've gotten some pots and I got a little bit more soil mixed together. So I'm gonna start transplanting these tomatoes. So as I said before, these are Martian beefsteak tomatoes. I'm sorry, Martian giant tomatoes. They're a variety of heirloom beefsteak tomato. They're good for slicing, but they're also good for processing. Since I'm going to be trying to do more of that this year, like doing canned tomatoes or making sauces that I thought that these would be good
to try since they're supposedly pretty versatile. They are an heirloom variety, so they're pretty consistent. And if I wanted to try seed saving, I could do that with these and get consistent tomatoes. That's what heirloom means, is that you can save the seeds and you'll get the same variety. So as I'm separating these, you can see that the roots are pretty strong, as I was saying. They have pretty much no trouble breaking apart from each other without breaking the roots. And I have 10 pots, and I have 12 of these little guys. So I am going to only use 10 of them. There are 2 that are pretty small, and so I'm going to put those to the side as I come across them. I'm growing so many of these just because I'm not exactly sure how many tomatoes they're supposed to put out. It says that they're semi-determinate. Normally I stick to indeterminate tomatoes. So here I'm counting the pots and the tomatoes to figure out how many I have, and that I have to get rid of those too. I had to record this over afterwards because my mic battery died while I was recording it, and so there wasn't any audio to go along with it. So here we are hanging out together in the future. So when you use the seed snail, the roots they tend to grow downwards because you have them in such a tight spot, and bottom watering encourages downward root growth, which is why these have such successful roots in the plants, and the roots come apart from each other so easily because they do trend downward, as opposed to normally if you have them in little pots, they kind of just trend outward, and then they're easy to get stuck to each other or become root bound. And I've had these in rows for weeks because I just procrastinated, and the roots actually surprisingly still came apart pretty easily. So I'm definitely going to just keep using the seed snail method from now on unless I find a reason later down in the season, maybe something happens and these don't work out. But when I was doing my research, I wasn't really able to find too many results videos from the seed snails. So I really wanted to include that here so that you guys can see how really great it is for root development, because I was shocked when I first saw the roots out of these seed snails. So if you don't know, determinate and indeterminate for tomatoes determines how big the plant is going to get. So determinate tomatoes only get to be about 3 to 4 feet tall, the plant, and then they'll produce one big batch of tomatoes all at once. And so a lot of times people will choose those for smaller spaces, or if they just want one big harvest for processing or something like that. I normally stick to indeterminate tomatoes, which are like the vining ones. If you have seed packets or something like that, or starters, they'll say that they get to be 6 to 8 feet tall, and they could get taller than that. It's just how tall you let them grow and how high you can stake them up. They're the ones that you see, people with really big farm setups will have like the reels where they can like lean the tomato plants down. Those are all indeterminate tomatoes. So hearing that these are semi-determinate tomatoes, I'm very intrigued as to how viney this plant is going to get. I'm going to be trying, I'm pretty sure, a net trellis on these. Not really a Florida weave, but it's like a net, and I'm going to weave them through the net. So, we'll have an opportunity to really see how big these plants are going to get. I wasn't going to prune them too much, but then I heard that that's kind of, at the end of the day, bad for the plant. So I am going to prune them, but I think I'm going to prune them each in different ways to see what kind of different fruit production I can get, because I have struggled in understanding what results come from different pruning methods. Everyone says that their pruning method gets you the most tomatoes, but everyone prunes wildly differently. So we're going to find out together. See, even these 2 tomatoes, they were together pretty close, and they still came apart very nicely. And look at that nice long taproot, undamaged. And that's really the most important part when you're transplanting, is that if you are transplanting a plant like tomatoes that has a taproot, you do want to do everything you can to not damage the taproot, because that could stunt the overall growth of the plant. And so that's other root disturbances. If you break off little side shoot roots, it's less of a big deal, especially with tomatoes. They can recover because they really like to root. And so even if you pick off the little baby leaves at the bottom of the plant and then plant it up all the way to the second set of leaves, it'll root in all of that stem space. So tomatoes are very forgiving as far as that goes, so long as you don't break the taproot. And I also do recommend that every time I'm going to be putting these right from the pots into the grounds because it's so late in the season. They're just going to be in these pots for maybe 4 weeks, maybe even 3. But I do recommend that every time you transplant them, you take off the bottom set of leaves and then bury them up to the next set of leaves, just to give that plant a nice boost for its rooting system. And it will encourage the plant to grow bigger as well if it has more root structure underground. It's not really rhizomatic, but it kind of acts rhizomatic in the way that the stem can just become a root, and so therefore can grow underground and produce more stems. I don't think that it's rhizomatic though. Otherwise, tomatoes would just spread. Oh yeah, because it can't be, because otherwise they would spread that way. So that was silly. But anyway, I am coming down to my last few plants. That was one of the small ones that I decided to not transplant because it didn't grow enough, and I don't have enough pots to keep all of them. And at the end of the day, 10 is crazy. Oh yeah, here this one has these little fuzzy baby roots on it, and you can kind of really see they're like really healthy root growth. When you see the fuzzy ones, they're like the little tiny fuzzies that you'll see on baby roots coming right out of seeds sometimes that people will mistake as mold, but it's just a very healthy furry root growth. So you just want to be gentle and kind of like twist the plant a little bit as you're transplanting it so that the dirt can get all the way around the root. You don't want to like retch it to the side, but just like gently twist it so and like go up and down a little bit so that the roots can settle into the dirt, and then you just press it in, and then we're gonna get these all onto a tray after I'm done and get them watered. And then, like I was saying, in like 3 to 4 weeks we will transplant these into the ground, and that's also when I will take those new pepper plants that I just started. In 3 to 4 weeks, those will go from the seed snails directly into the ground since I started those so late. But that's okay because we are where I'm at. It stays cold. Our grow season is actually surprisingly short. I think it averages out to only be like 165 days, which is crazy. And so our soil and our nighttime temperatures stay in the 40s at least sporadically until the end of May. So I'm not going to want to put these peppers outside overnight until the end of May anyway. So it's fine. They're going to get a nice 4 weeks to start. And I think that it's going to be beneficial because all the pepper plants that I had were outside in the cold. And apparently that can affect the whole growth cycle of their life. Like they could never recover from being that cold because they're just not meant to. And so I just wanted to start some new ones. And it was a great time to get these tomatoes transplanted so that I can show you how good the seed snail system is really good at doing for the roots. Because let me tell you, that's really why I'm so impressed with the seed snails, just because of the roots. So in addition to these Martian giants, we're also growing 2 or 3 varieties of cherry tomatoes and then some Italian paste tomatoes, specifically so I can try making some sauces and maybe pizza sauces with those and canning them. And then the cherry tomatoes are for us to snack on because we love cherry tomatoes. And then we're going to be growing maybe 3 different varieties of these, like beefsteak slicing tomatoes that all produce fruit between 10 ounces and a pound. So this is the last one, and I'm wrapping it up. And now we are going to get the trays. So the classic plastic pot trays are fine, but I was never able to find ones that weren't flimsy. And I just recently found these metal ones, so I switched to those, and they do fit the pots that I use, the 3-inch pots, a little bit better. So I'm happy about that. And they're way sturdier. I don't have any issue with them being floppy at all. So I'm just stacking all of the tomatoes that I just transplanted into the tray, and I'm gonna finagle them a little bit so that they all sit flat in there. It's gonna take a little bit of rearranging, but we will get there. And then I'm going to get these some water. Okay, so I'm pretty much getting them all situated now, and we did it. Here's our nice 10 transplanted tomatoes, all looking very happy. Here they are. They've joined their little tomato friends and the basil on my growing shelf with the plant light. And so now they'll just be here for a couple weeks. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, which you obviously are, you're seeing this, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you want to see my plants grow and see what kind of fruit I get from them, subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, like the video. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thanks.